We are continuing our NHL Playoff Preview series. Today we're taking a look at the Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild. We'll give you the preview and my predictions coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned today, we're previewing the Wild and Vegas Golden Knights playoff series that's about to kick off here in the 2021 NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs. Now, if you haven't caught the other videos in this series previewing the other series, right now we have videos already up on the channel for the Capitals and Bruins, which gets underway here today. We also have videos up for the Maple Leafs against the Montreal Canadiens. We also have the New York Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins preview already loaded, as well as the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So this is video number 5 in an 8-part series covering all 8 series here in the first round of the playoffs. The other ones will be coming up here shortly. So we're going to get started here first by reviewing some regular season stats for each of these teams and comparing them to see how they made out, what the differences are, and who might have advantages in certain areas. So as we can see here, the Golden Knights finished with a record of 40-14-2 for 82 points, where the Wild, certainly I think it's fair to call them a surprise team this year, finished with a 35-16-5 record for 75 points. Now, the Minnesota Wild, even though the Vegas Golden Knights were the higher ranked team, they actually won the season series 5-3, which is not something that many teams did with Vegas this year. Obviously, in their division, Vegas had their way with most of those teams, but Minnesota found a way to beat them more often than not. Another interesting stat in there as well is Vegas won the first 2 meetings of the season, and then Minnesota won 5 of the final 6 games that they played against each other. So even though they had regular season success against Vegas, can they continue that into the playoffs? I know when it comes to the odds makers out there and a lot of people's predictions that I've been watching online, many people are picking Vegas. Will I do the same? Certainly kind of watch through here, get my thoughts, and see what I think here by the end of the video. Now let's get back to the stats here. The Vegas Golden Knights were one of the higher scoring teams in the league this year with 191 goals for 3rd best, whereas the Wild certainly were not too far behind at 181 for 9th best. Goals against, the Golden Knights were the best team in the NHL with 124 against. Of course, that means that Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Lehner, the goaltending tandem, were presented and won the Jennings Trophy for lowest goals against, which is a certainly incredible feat here and goes a long way to helping your team defense. Now, the Wild were about average when it comes to goals against. They allowed 160 for 16th best, so middle of the pack. When it comes to special teams, that's one area that Vegas actually kind of is a bit of a yin and yang here. On the power play, they had a success rate of 17.8 for 22nd best, so it's not great, whereas the Wild certainly not much better, 17.6 for 24th best. So even though the Golden Knights didn't have a great power play, them and Minnesota's are pretty comparable in their results, but Vegas has been the best penalty killing team all year. Not a surprise that they were the best defensive team. Having a strong PK goes really well hand in hand with making that happen. PK percentage success rate here 86.8, which is phenomenal, whereas the Wild had 80.8 for 12th best, which is still pretty darn good. Now on the face-off circle, neither one of them were overly strong, but not too bad. Vegas had a 49.5% success rate for 20th best, and the Wild were at 46.5 for 28th best, so not real great on that front. But obviously, as you can see here, the Vegas Golden Knights really are pretty good at shutting teams down. Like I said, the Minnesota Wild, though, are one of the few teams that managed to give them some fits and some hard times here and get more goals against them to win some games. So can they carry that over into the playoffs, or will the strong goaltending and the top defense and high-scoring offense here be able to shut down the Wild and take the series like many are predicting? So let's continue going through here. Next, let's look at the goaltending and see who we feel has an advantage. Of course, we've already talked about the fact of how strong defensively Vegas is. Obviously, between the pipes, I think it's fair to say that Vegas has a clear advantage. Now, of course, they got Marc-Andre Fleury, who should be a Vezina finalist this year, maybe even the Vezina winner, with a record of 26-10-0, a 1.98 goals against, and a 928 save percentage. Put up 6 shutouts this year. Absolutely incredible. And Leonard, when he was in there, wasn't much, really all that far off. He was 13-4-2 with a 229 goals against and a 913 save percentage and 1 shutout. So I think it's fair to say the Golden Knights have the greatest goaltending tandem currently in the National Hockey League. Now, the Wild likely going to be going with Cam Talbot here to start. He had a record of 19-8-5, a 2.63 goals against, and a 915 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. And of course, Kakinen, his backup, had a pretty solid record in a rookie campaign of 16-8-0, 288 goals against, and a 902 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. So, yes, the Vegas Golden Knights certainly have a goaltending advantage here, in my opinion. Based on the other stats, we saw that special teams and power play was pretty even, but the Golden Knights also have a major advantage on the PK and a slight edge in scoring. So right now, all the arrows are pointing towards Vegas being the favorite here. Now we kind of understand as to why, even though the Wild, like I said, had a fair bit of success this year. Now let's take a look at their top scorers. The Vegas Golden Knights were led by Captain Mark Stone, number 61, put up 61 points this year, following by Matt Pacioretty at 51. Marchessault had 44. Shea Theodore, one of the emerging younger offensive defensemen in the NHL, 42 points for him. William Karlsson with 39. And Chandler Stevenson, who's gotten an opportunity to play top-line center minutes with Stone and Pacioretty a fair bit, with 35. Now, of course, the Wild were led by youngster Kirill Kaprizov, who put out 51 points as a rookie. Really solid results there. Fiala had 40 points. Zuccarello, 35. Jordan Greenway, 32. Eriksson Ek had 30. And Marcus Foligno, 26. So certainly it looks as though Vegas has some more higher end talent. The Wild, outside of Kaprizov and maybe guys like Fiala and Eriksson Ek, just don't have a ton of offense. So ultimately, I know this is a team game, and it's kind of really hard here to ignore the fact that the Wild won the season series. But as I've stated before, it's an indicator. It's something you need to look at. But it's not everything. If the Vegas Golden Knights were going into the playoffs on a real bad note and had really struggled down the stretch, I would be personally a little bit more concerned about it. But I just can't bet against Vegas. I know the Wild are a team that certainly gained a lot of respect this year. And I know I've seen many Wild fans online talking about the Wild disrespect. And I get it. I understand that you feel like your team should be picked more often to win here. And maybe they'll be the upset. I personally, when I was looking through the first round matchups, I always pick 1 or 2 upsets because it usually always happens. And this was one of the key ones I was really looking at. And picking the Wild would be a big one. But I just personally look at this Vegas team and the strong goaltending and the strong PK and this higher end talent. They're deeper. Even though they didn't have a great record against Minnesota this year, I think they're going to figure it out. They have a great coach behind the bench in Peter DeBoer for the strategies, and I think they're going to get it done. But I think Minnesota is going to give them a real hard time here and maybe go 6 or 7 games. But I do have to pick Vegas, but I would not be shocked if this is one of the major upsets that we're talking about after round 1 with the Minnesota Wild handling the Golden Knights and going on to round 2 to play the winner of the Blues in the Avalanche. So we'll see what happens, but those are my predictions. I'd love to know yours down in the comments, so let me know your thoughts and we can discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, stick around. We've got more preview series here coming up, and of course all the latest news and rumors from around all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.